Selby's time, breaking down the stories every view will unwind. From left to right we'll see the light. It's balance we're chasing, no fighters fight. Curtis Selby talking it straight. Let's hear both sides, let's communicate. Politics and reason, let's find the truth. Curtis Selby's here to bridge it for you. Debates, insights, it's all on the screen. Curtis Selby keeping it keen. Hit subscribe, stay on while it's diving deep with Curtis Selby. The combos you need. The combos you need. Insights, it's on the screen. Curtis Selby keeping it keen. Hit subscribe, stay a while, it's diving deep with Curtis Selby. The convo's unique. Curtis Selby talking it straight. Let's hear both sides, let's communicate. Politics and reason, let's find the truth. Curtis Selby's here to bridge it for you. Debates, insights, it's all on the screen. Curtis Selby keeping it keen. Hit subscribe, stay a while, it's diving deep with Curtis Selby. The combos you need. The combos you need. The combos you need.
Welcome everyone, it is I, Curtis Selby, your tired midnight blogger, who blogs in this case at 6:36 p.m. Topic of discussion today, corporate socialism when big business has a trampoline for a safety net. Yes, by and large I am a capitalist, but there are limits and there are things that happen, and let's face it, there's reasons why some people embrace liberalism. Unless we're drinking Kool-Aid, we have to look at the other side as well. Decided to stream today. I don't want to get too much into the details, but I'm probably going to be out of town for work on Wednesday, which means that tomorrow I have to both do my job and figure out what to do with casting. So I won't be able to stream. Yeah. Let's say hello to everyone in the chat. Welcome, John Ponterero, wonderful human being here. Thank you for your friendship, your prayers, your advice, and the links. I've decided I will share one of them today, which may or may not make sense, but hopefully it will by the time I get to it. Hail Tim! Some there are who call him Tim. This jerk owes me money. Kapla, Space Fraggle, hail to you, glory to you, and your house, Gorilla Censored Thoughts, welcome, welcome. You'll have to be in the background mostly trying to get money to pay the internet bill. Please feel free, if you have a PayPal link or something, please feel free to link it. Maybe, hopefully, someone can send you a couple of bucks, and hopefully that will at least help. Gorillas have the money tomorrow night, just won't be able to stream till then. Oh, man. I'm sorry. We'll leave the link anyway. Maybe, maybe it won't help, but maybe it'll get you there a little quicker. Safe travels. Thank you very much. All right, so I'll go ahead and stop the music. Today's topic is one that is dear to my heart. Paradoxically enough, again, largely capitalist, ex-right winger, but I've always just had a aversion to things that were too big. Oddly enough, I love dinosaurs and whales, but big governments and big corporations they were always anathema to me. And I realized that might just be a prejudice, it could be a flaw, it could be that I'm just too small-minded or allowing my own experiences and ideology to impact me. The thing is, while I absolutely believe in the theory of economics, in other words, there's supply, there's demand, I present a product or a service, and you, well-informed customer, come in and you pick whichever one you want from all the different competitors. That form of competition, that form of economics, I firmly 100% believe in. But I think that there does come a time when monopolies happen. Now, I know that's controversial too. There's people who will say that in a truly economic and a truly capitalistic world, monopolies won't happen. I don't know that I agree with that or believe that. A lot of the studies that I've read, monopolies, I'm not going to say that they're quite inevitable, but it does seem inevitable that more and more as time goes by, fewer and fewer organizations will control a branch of the economy. They'll control an industry. And as there's fewer and fewer, that's harder and harder on the customer, harder and harder on the worker. I'm going to try to do a deep dive here, try to share both the pros and the cons. I'm going to start out being at least vaguely objective. And let us begin with the boring, bland, what the heck is corporate socialism? I'm getting this from the Impact Investor. I think they're fairly centrist, but I guess we'll find out as we move along. Socialism itself, which we've already discussed fairly much in depth, I should have left the link below for that stream. Socialism has been around in various forms for nearly 250 years. I would argue really quite a bit before. If you know much about the way I think that every society has been a blend of capitalism and some form of socialism. But the modern ideas of socialism originated in the French Revolution of the late 1700s. It's based on the core theory that governments should use central planning to control their economies and distribute wealth and assets to the population. In other words, wealth belongs to everyone, not just the business or individual who created the wealth. Let's see. Greetings, Sashi. Lurking for now. I will cook lunch for later. Welcome, welcome, man from the future. And if anyone wants to help contribute to Gorilla Censored Thoughts, please click on that Stream Elements and give him a tip. I'm sure he'd appreciate even $1 or $2 if he have it. Gorilla Censored Thoughts. Damn it, my comment got deleted. Crap. All he said was, I'll break his legs. Right on. Got a cut of money. He pays up. Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah, you're gonna understand. I get a small cut out of every dollar that he gets, which, yeah. Who knows if I'll need the favor return later or not? But socialism has gained traction at various points in American history, but it's never been fully implemented in the United States. While there are some programs like welfare and Social Security that may be similar to socialistic ideas, capitalism still holds strong in the US. However, there's another form of socialism that is on the rise. In recent years, the United States and other Western capitalist countries have experienced a rise in corporate socialism. Democratic socialism takes profits from corporations for the benefit of the people. Corporate socialism is the exact opposite. It helps corporations maximize their profits while transferring risks and losses to the general population. Perhaps you are seeing why I don't really like it. Here you see I am experimenting with stream elements, so I'm not meaning to necessarily just promote sci-fi mommies, but stream elements, once I get it set up right, will promote several people. I'm just experimenting with it now, so every few minutes you'll probably see this pop up. Hopefully it's not annoying. Sci-Fi Mommy is awesome. You should check her out. And check out Gorilla Censored Thoughts. You have to make Stream Elements a mod, or everything it posts needs approval. I see. Okay. I know I've been playing with it, but I won't pretend that I've got it figured out by any stretch. One of the reasons why I'm promoting Sci-Fi Mombi here is we talked a little bit this afternoon. Basically, she was teaching me what she knows about it. So it would you had done with me the other day. Sadly, I'm a slow learner. Corporate socialism is an economic system in which the government gives corporations special advantages that allows them to keep their profits while sharing losses with workers and the general population. The result is that assets are transferred from workers to corporations. This is the exact opposite of democratic socialism, in which wealth is taken from private businesses and distributed to workers. So the long answer, corporate socialism is a relatively new idea. It's become more relevant since the 2008 financial crisis and the accompanying government bailouts. But make no mistake, there's been some form of it been going on for most of my lifetime. As corporations have grown in value and influence, some have wondered if they receive too much support and aid. Supporters of corporate socialism say it's a necessary part of a capitalist economy. They argue that the failure of businesses would have severe adverse effects on the general population, including unemployment and supply chain issues. These arguments often lead to the saying that a business is too big to fail and thus must be saved. Critics say it prioritizes profits over people and creates a two-class society of haves and have-nots. All the profits and economic benefits of business success go to the corporation, which back in the day, the theory was that they were more or less distributed across customers, stakeholders, and employers. Why is this doing this? Oh, I see. Okay, got it. Now, of course, corporations, they like to claim that they aren't greedy. They're just doing their business. They're doing what any small business would try to do, maximize their profits. And it does sound reasonable. I don't know that it is, but it sounds reasonable. Let me share something in the corporation's favor. See, the corporations say that yes, we might be getting massive profits. We might be kind of harsh to our employees. We might be a little bit willing to scalp customers, but society also gets a lot of good out of what we do and out of our profits. They argue that an ethically run corporation will run with social responsibility, will give back, will be good to their employees, will actually not scalp their customers. And I'm going to give, just to be fair, 12 examples of corporate social responsibility. Sashi says corporations always have their hands in government, no matter the political system. They use influence to get laws in their favor. Yeah, it goes back at the very least to the Dutch East India trade, if not earlier than that. Essentially, the government gave a monopoly to the corporation, and they became intensely powerful. I've heard people suggest that it was as much that corporation as anything that eventually led to the American Revolution. I know that there's people who know more about history than I. Hopefully, if they show up, they'll let me know what they think about that. In today's corporate landscape, our commitment to social and environmental responsibility can significantly influence your brand image and market success. This is what I would hope that these corporate boards are thinking about. Consumers increasingly align their spending with their values, seeking companies that produce quality products and services and contribute positively to society. I'm going to give the example of Disney. If you have certain values, you're probably not watching lots of Disney. You may even be boycotting Disney. On the other hand, if you have certain other kinds of values, you might be very supportive of Disney. You might try and convince people to watch more of it, and so on and so on. When people buy from companies that care about social issues, they feel they're helping too. The more socially responsible the company, the more supportive its community and consumers become. Creating a business model centered on corporate social responsibility is an effective way to impact the world while still making a profit positively. After examining various brands that use this strategy well, we've compiled some standout examples of corporate social responsibility. These companies manage to benefit society at large as a token of giving back. First off, they define what is corporate responsibility. It's a company's commitment adopted by for-profit businesses that involves using company resources to benefit society and the environment in which it operates. Sashi, ethically run business? You mean almost always headed for bankruptcy companies? Yes! I'm, of course, speaking from experience. Yeah, sadly, I think I know what you're talking about. All right, back to lurking. I'm just glad I'm worthy of a comment. I remember taking an ethics course. I'm going to give a side note here. I took an ethics course back in the 90s when there were dinosaurs and so on and so on. According to the ethics class, a corporation has only two ethical standards. There's only two things that matter to a corporation ethically. One is that they obey the law, and two is that they maximize the profits for the shareholders. Personally, I guess it is what it is. But Corporate social responsibility is a company's commitment adopted by for-profit businesses that involves using company resources to benefit society and the environment in which it operates. Now, I would hope, being a classical economist myself, that the point of the business is in some way to benefit society and or the environment. You are selling cattle to feed people. You are selling oil to run people's cars. In some way, if the capitalist theory is correct, what you're selling or the services you're providing should be benefiting society as much, or frankly, more than the profits that you're taking in. Otherwise, capitalist theory, to me, is not legit, which, as you know, I do think it's legit. So there it is. By practicing corporate social responsibility, also known as corporate citizenship, businesses acknowledge their influence on various societal aspects, including the economy, social structures, and the environment. In addition to large corporations embarking on ambitious CSR initiatives, we got to make alphabet soup out of it. Smaller businesses and individuals can also significantly impact their communities. Whether it's organizing local cleanup projects, food drives, or educational workshops, these efforts help build a stronger bond between businesses and residents. All they have to do is fill out a community service form to record and verify the completion of volunteer work or community service. Guerrilla Censored Thoughts. No corporation follows the law. I would suggest that you are mostly right. I rarely like to say never, but I do suspect that many of them at least bend the law a little bit. And as was suggested in some chat above, I can't remember who had the thought, they definitely try to influence, they try to change laws. And I would suggest that any Fortune 500 company is more influential on changing a law than, honestly, probably the whole state of Oklahoma. I'm just saying. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's what I suspect. So don't take that as gospel or science or fact, but that is what I suspect to be true. Whether it's organizing local cleanup projects, food drives, or educational workshops, these efforts help build a stronger bond between businesses and residents. All they have to do is fill out a community service form to record and verify the completion of volunteer work or community service. It ensures that all the goodwill they generate is recorded and can be shared with stakeholders to inspire continued collaborative efforts. Microsoft, it's awfully tempting to skip it because I think they're one of the great Satans, but I chose to read this, so I'll share. Microsoft has structured its CSR around environmental sustainability, empowering communities through education and technology, and upholding the highest standards of corporate governance. Their goals are to be carbon negative by 2030, zero waste by 2030, bridging the digital divide, facilitating digital inclusion, and providing digital skills. I wonder if any of you have ever watched Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared. If you have, let me know in the chat and I'll explain why I'm thinking about it. Digital style, digital dancing. And they empower nonprofits worldwide. I know Bill Gates has started a lot of nonprofits. I'm going to try not to get sidetracked or say the epithets of what I think of his spiffy charities. Microsoft, I'm going to go ahead and skip down just a bit because I don't really want to read the whole thing. But anyway, Microsoft is not evil. Coca-Cola is not evil. Starbucks is not evil. You can read all these yourself if you want to. I'm not perfectly fair. Johnson & Johnson, they're not evil. Global public health program, strengthening healthcare systems, providing education. We're going to give phones to Indian women, I guess. I mean, that's cool. Kind of confuses me, though. Google, I thought we'd already talked about. Oh, it was Microsoft. I always get the two mixed up. Google's not evil. Lego's not evil. I hope they're not. Let me know if you know better in the chat. They do plant-based plastics, eco-friendly packaging, circular design. Oh, so they're exploring ideas to ensure that products can be reused or recycled. I remember the chant when I was young. Reduce, reuse, recycle. I used to be a tree hugger. Netflix is not evil. They have a promotion of diversity and inclusion, environmental sustainability, and educational and social impact. Nike, we're going to ignore the sweatshops. Sustainable innovation, diversity, inclusion. All of them got diversity and inclusion. So I guess if you just diverse, then all your sins are forgiven. Amazon, they're not evil. BMW, I don't know anything about BMW. They may actually not be evil. You hear a lot here about sustainability, diversity and inclusion, mission reduction. This is interesting. Resource optimization, which I would think would be the same as profit optimization, which is okay. I am absolutely not against profit as a motive. I'm just against certain sleazy activities to obtain the profits. Gorilla Sensor Thought, can't drink Coca-Cola, still haven't learned how to be less white. Shame on you, gorillas. You should learn to be less white. Hail, Connie Cleary, the faithful bird woman of YouTube and one of the great wrenches online. Sorry she's late. No, don't ever worry about being late. I decided to do this today instead of tomorrow because I know you weren't here, but I'm going to be very busy tomorrow with work stuff. And I also need to find a place to board Cassie. I probably won't be able to stream and do all that stuff. Jaguar, they're evil. Well, I gotta say, whether their advertisement is evil or not, it certainly makes me scratch my head. I don't know anything about Tom's of Maine. Natural personal care items. Oh, yeah, okay, I have heard of these people. I don't know anything about them. They may not be evil for all I know. Environmental responsibility, community engagement, chemical responsibility, transparency. Oh my God. That may be the first time in the whole thing I've had that word come up. Transparency. Wouldn't that be wonderful? That's one of the things that I can't stand about big corporations and big governments is the lack of transparency. Cool. Thank you, saith Connie Cleary. And you're very welcome. Thank you. 10% for good. 10% of Tom's profits are dedicated to charitable causes, reinforcing their connection to communal improvement. Employee volunteerism. Employees are encouraged to spend 5% of their paid work time volunteering. Now, that's pretty cool. Fostering a company culture deeply connected to social service. Again, I don't know anything about them. My apologies if they are evil, but they may be the first actually decent organization in this list. Levi Strauss, sustainable production, community involvement, employee well-being. Their waterless initiative has proved pivotal in reducing the amount of water needed to produce their products. This method includes using up to 96% less water to finish garments, and it has revolutionized industry practices. Again, empowerment and equity, employee engagement and safety. That's kind of neat. The trouble is, I don't know if they produce anything in the United States anymore. I mean, they used to be the all-American product. I mean, it was blue jeans, rock and roll, and baseball. But I don't know if they produce anything in America anymore. Let me know if you know. Gorilla Sensor Thought. I just remembered something. If you were a gift card and you were too lazy to be put in a wallet, where would you be? I don't know. I feel like I should know, and I feel like I'm going to feel stupid when you tell me, but I don't know. You were a gift card, too lazy to be put in a wallet. Where would you be? Still on the shelf? I don't know. I'm afraid I'm not clever enough on this one. Please let us know the punchline. All right. So there it is. Lots of organizations want to convince you. And maybe I'm being unfair. You know, maybe I'm sure that there are good people. So an organization the size of these things, just statistically speaking, there have to be at least some good people. They may all be on the bottom of the organization, but they can't all be entirely evil. All righty. So I am going to be a silly person. Gorilla Sensor Thought. I'll let you know when I find it. You know what I always say is, if you were a crazy person, where would you put X, Y, or Z? Okay. This is a good thought, JPRPH. You could come in a gift card. I'm getting a message here that my browser's blocked my screen, so let me know if you guys can still see me. I would reset, but I don't know. Testing. Jaguar, it is evil. All right. So, even though I don't like this person, I'm going to share their thoughts. One of my friends, my liberal friends' favorite economists is Robert Reich. I'm not keen on him, but in the interest of fairness, I'm going to share what he has to say about corporate socialism, because I'm fairly sure that there are some good-hearted and fairly intelligent people out there that agree with what he says. How federal policy went from regulating big business to heavily subsidizing it. The funny thing is, all too often, I call BS on the basis from which he comes to a conclusion. But fairly often, when he's not just bashing Trump and not saying a word about actual economics, sometimes I find myself agreeing with his actual core point. And I suspect this is going to be one of those times. The Clean Air Act of 1970 authorized the government to regulate air pollution. The Inflation Reduction Act, which Joe Biden signed into law this past week, allocates more than $300 billion to energy and climate reform, including $30 billion in subsidies for manufacturers of solar panels and wind turbines. Do you notice the difference? The Inflation Reduction Act is an important step towards slowing or reversing climate crisis. He's not very good with his grammar, I'm afraid. But hey, I suppose when you reach a certain level, you don't have to have the basic skills. It also illustrates the nation's shift away from regulating businesses to subsidizing businesses. Now, I had a talk with one of my conservative friends today, and neither of us is very keen on government subsidies to big businesses. However, both of us did agree that sometimes you want to subsidize a small industry, small businesses and small industries to try to get that industry growing in your country. So take that for what it's worth. It's just my opinion. I haven't proven it, and certainly I'm not going to prove it with his information here. From 1932 through the late 70s, the government mainly regulated businesses. This was the era of the alphabet soup of regulatory agencies begun under Franklin D. Roosevelt. The SEC, ICC, FCC, CAB, MOUSE, and the APA. The government still regulates businesses, of course, but the biggest thing the federal government now does with businesses is subsidize them. Consider Joe Biden's biggest first-term accomplishments, the CHIPS and Science Act. It sounds like a breakfast cereal, which was then later used to commit the deletion of Skarsgård and his family. With $52 billion of subsidies to semiconductor firms, plus another $24 billion in manufacturing tax credits, the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, $550 billion of new spending on railroads, broadband, and the electric grid, among other things, and now the Inflation Reduction Act. The shift from regulation to subsidy has characterized every recent administration. I wonder if he's going to include Clinton in that. Trump's Operation Warp Speed delivered $10 billion in subsidies to COVID vaccine manufacturers, and I'll admit, I'm not very keen on that whole thing. I think both sides screwed up when it came to taking care of COVID. Obama's Affordable Care Act subsidized the healthcare and pharmaceutical industries indirectly through massive subsidies to the buyers of healthcare and pharmaceuticals. And Obama spent about $489 billion bailing out the financial industry and notably never fully restored financial regulations that previous administrations had repealed. And mainly talking about GM and Chrysler. Before the 80s, the U.S. would have done all of this differently. Instead of subsidizing broadband, semiconductors, energy companies, vaccine manufacturers, healthcare and pharmaceutical businesses in the financial sector, we would have regulated them, requiring them to act in various ways. I would suggest he's not entirely correct, but he does make a point. We would have regulated. I just think we would have subsidized under the table. We just wouldn't have been as upfront about it. If this regulatory alternative seems far-fetched today, that is because of how far we have come from the regulatory state of the 30s and the 70s to the subsidy state beginning in the 80s. Why the big shift? Because of the change in the balance of power between large corporations and the government. Today, it is politically difficult, if not impossible, for government to demand that corporations and shareholders bear the cost of public goods. Government must bribe them instead. I saw this firsthand. Bill Clinton's health care plan, I knew it. I knew he was coming to this. His health care plan was blocked by the pharmaceutical and healthcare industries, which would have had to sacrifice some profits. By contrast, Obama got the Affordable Care Act by paying off these industries, all but guaranteeing them larger profits from a massive inflow of newly subsidized customers. Spending by corporations on lobbying increased from $1.44 billion in 1999 to $3.77 billion and is on track to exceed $4 billion this year, which I think was 2022. Anyway, this tidal wave of corporate money has occurred at the same time large American corporations have globalized to the point where many are able to play off the United States against other nations, which honestly, I think he's right about this part. Demanding government subsidies in return for creating jobs and doing their cutting edge research in America. The irony is they still don't do much in America. Just putting that out there. The new CHIPS Act shows how powerful and highly profitable semiconductor manufacturers such as US-based Intel can extract billions of dollars in a global shakedown for where they'll make semiconductor chips. In the 80s, Robert Reich was involved in a national debate over industrial policy. The question, put simply, was whether the government should subsidize certain industries that generate large social benefits in the form of new technologies. I argued that the government was already engaged in a hidden industrial policy, disguised, for example, as grants to the aerospace and telecom industries by the Department of Defense and to the pharmaceutical industry by the National Institutes of Health. I think he has a little bit of a point there. Don't know if I 100% agree with where he's going with it, but it is a point. It would be far better to do industrial policy in the open so that the public could assess what it was paying for and what it was getting in return. Opponents, which included just about every Republican, were indignant at the very idea that government ought to be intruding on their blessed free market. Today's subsidies are far larger and even supported by Republicans. Republican Senator John Cornyn, arguing for the CHIPS Act, said, "What we are doing is industrial policy unlike people of my free market background have done before." In truth, the 3 decades-long shift in power to big corporations has transformed industrial policy into a system for bribing them to do the sorts of things government once demanded they do as the price of being part of the American system. Well, let's see what Gorillas has to say. Answer: underneath a pile of stuff that fell off the desk that I was too lazy to pick up. Well, you know, if you could see my place, I've definitely got piles of stuff. Mostly books, but anyway. All righty, so let's go across the aisle from Robert Reich and go to his critic, John Stossel, and see what he has to say about corporate welfare. We celebrate the finding of the money. Gorillas will be censored. Yeah, he'll probably will be censored. He'll be streaming later tonight. Huzzah! Feel free and leave a link in the chat because I've only got 3 more things to share. And then I will share the pointless and possibly partisan things that I've found on Twitter. And then I will call it a stream. I don't know if you guys are learning much from this, but I hope at least a little bit. And I hope it's mildly entertaining. La la la. In the not too distant future, next Sunday 80, we have corporate welfare. This is young John Stossel here. All right, let's see what he has to say about corporate welfare.
Government handouts keep going bad. Strangely, PBS is covering this now because it's airing a documentary on corporate welfare.
This is basically socialism for the rich.
Here's our Stossel TV-sized version of it.
IKEA was founded in my home country of Sweden. Here in America, IKEA is best known for meatballs and nearly impossible to pronounce product names.
IKEA said, "Oh, we're interested in coming to the Memphis area. We think it'd be a great fit for us." But obviously, with that, they also said, "Well, how much money are you going to give us before we decide whether we're going to come or not?"
The city of Memphis has a program called the Economic Development Growth Engine to entice new businesses to move to the city. One way it does this is by offering large property tax abatements.
As always, the abatements are complex. And so it's the big companies with lots of lobbyists and lawyers that are able to figure these things out.
While I am no longer as big of an opponent of Musk as I used to be, and in fact, I'm pretty much pro Musk, just being honest. I know that Tulsa just basically was bending over, begging him to bring Tesla to Tulsa. I have no idea exactly what all that they were offering, but lots of tax benefits, lots of subsidies. And it would have been good for the town if he had come there. Got to wait till Frontier gets done screwing around. Oh, I understand. Hey, please check out Sci-Fi Mommy's channel. All right. I need to set one up for you as well, Gorillas. And who else? And Connie. Gorillas, Connie. There's somebody else at Space. Well, Space Fraggle, do you do any creating? Let me know if you do, because I'll be happy to promote you too. All right. Here we go. John, sorry, half lurking. I'm making some chicken soup for the week. It's good for the soul. So I hear. No, you're fine. It's okay. Hopefully, again, you're getting something out of this. I'm about to get to the good. Well, what I think is the good stuff. Sashi's back. It's easy to tell if a company is ethical or not. If they're successful, they're not. And yes, there are good people in these companies. Who do you think does the actual work? You are correct. As we all know, the Pareto principle is pretty much a proven scientific fact. 80% of work is typically done by 20% of the people. Yes, I know what Tulsa is backward. What's a slut backwards? $100. You got it. Sounds like something I would have heard on Tulsa King. Anyway,
IKEA agreed to create 175 new jobs with an average salary of $41,000 a year.
which down here in the South is not too shabby. Maybe not fantastic, but not too shabby.
Lines are growing tonight for IKEA's grand opening tomorrow.
There was some pushback from other businesses as well. What about us? I mean, we've been here and we employ here and we pay taxes here. You're really pitting these gigantic corporations who know the government and have tons of lobbyists against mom and pop shops in our community that we're trying to save. You're basically asking people to pay more tax dollars in order for their competitor to succeed over them.
2 years after IKEA was opened to much fanfare and millions in tax breaks, new documents show the Swedish furniture retailer doesn't have as many jobs on the site as they promised.
There's only one
What? A major corporation lied? No. I don't think it's possible.
IKEA in Memphis. There's 15 to 20 independent furniture stores in Memphis. Where's our tax break?
Less than 2 years after IKEA opened, King's Furniture went out of business.
These are our tax dollars. We work really hard for them. And they should go to things that we need. They should go to essential government services, roads, schools, police, fire. I mean, that's what this money should go to. I think it's essentially just not the role of government to give money to big corporations at the expense of small business owners.
Many such programs begin with good intentions, but they result in unintended consequences.
And those unintended consequences never, ever go away.
We will always stand with the American farmers. Now to the Farm Bill.
America's annual farm bills give money to farmers to make sure America has an adequate food supply. But that justification is just bunk. Most crops don't get subsidies, and they do just fine.
Farmers choose to raise corn and soybeans because those are the crops that there's government guaranteed revenue insurance.
Exactly.
So, I'm going to relay a story here that may or may not be edifying. My dad was a farmer pretty much all of his life, and he raised sheep for a fairly significant amount of that time. There used to be a pretty tolerable subsidy on wool for sheep. And Newt Gingrich's government, his evil Republican people, was going to get rid of that subsidy, and Dad was trying to convince people, it's paid for by this and that. Please don't take it away. They took away the wool subsidy. This story is not going where you think it is, I'll bet. The price of wool went up so much, he absolutely did not miss the subsidy. He was very happy that they hadn't passed it again. The subsidy is actually kind of keeping that price down, which, granted, might be good for the consumer, but frankly, it's not good for the farmer. I know it's paradoxical. I know it makes no sense, but that is a true story. Take it however you want. Maybe it's just anecdotal. Sashi, the only reason I'm able to run my business for close to 20 years because I'm not married and have no kids. I also have a car that I bought for $400 US. No, I get it. Now that I'm single and don't have a kid, I'm kind of wondering if I should do a business myself. I just don't know what it would be. I don't know if I don't think I want to do a retail thing. I've been in it long enough to know that I would just be sad. God bless you, sir. All right. Yeah, I'll go ahead and play a little bit more of what he has to say.
Guaranteed money. And who gets it?
It's the big guy who have the resources, not just to lobby in Congress, but to actually have entire shops to try to get and maximize the amount of subsidy that they're getting.
Many of which are not even American companies. In 2016, the largest pork producer in the U.S., Chinese-owned Smithfield Foods.
Another side note, which will have a more predictable thing. Dad also raised pigs for a very long time. It was roughly around this time that he quit having pigs because he could no longer make any money off of them. I'm just putting that out there.
Increased consumer prices in stores, but decreased the amount they paid farmers for live hogs. Yet, they still benefited from the government's subsidy system, heavily lobbying to keep feed prices low. It's estimated that in 2019 alone, agribusiness spent over $135 million on lobbying.
We embody what people romantically think about when they think about a farm.
These farmers spent nothing.
Jeff and Zach raise hogs, cattle, vegetables, and poultry.
All right, let's see what's going on in the chat. YouTube czar. I would love it. Trump, make me YouTube czar. I will make YouTube great again. I will make YouTube the greatest social media platform there is. It'll be wonderful. You'll never have known YouTube videos as great as the YouTube videos that I will have when I am YouTube czar. Sashi, I'm one of those few people to provide cheap eyewear for the masses. Once I am unable to continue my service, I shudder to think what will happen to people who need glasses. Wow. Yeah, that is awesome, Sashi. That is. Big Al Presents. Hello, hello. Please check out this gentleman's channel if you haven't already. I'm sure most of you have. But just in case there's a lurker or something, check out Big Al's Presents. He is the originator of the 10-word review. And he also has movie presentations that are pretty stinking cool. So check him out. Meanwhile, I'm actually sharing what John Stossel is saying at this point about corporate welfare.
Sell primarily to families and restaurants in the area. Pete Eshelman owns a 4-star restaurant in nearby Fort Wayne, Indiana. In 2015, the Indiana State Legislature invited Jeff and Pete to make a presentation on farmers markets and local restaurants.
I come today as a 5th-generation Wabash County farmer. My son, who is my partner, is the 6th generation.
But they were in for a surprise.
We finished our presentations, and the chair of the committee said, well, that's illegal.
They immediately had to stop selling and serving chickens from the farm.
Whoa. What WTF. Wow. All right, time for me to get ready for work. See you guys. Take care, Sashi. Be well to the masses and providing that eyewear and whatever else your establishment may provide. Have a wonderful day, and hopefully you are not banned from selling your chickens.
They basically came up with a story that small farms processing chicken on the farms is a health risk.
What really happened was that the bigger politically connected farms got the legislature to ban competition. But Hawkins chicken was popular.
So that's how a hashtag was born. Hashtag keep chicken on the menu. Like, if you've enjoyed this meal, will you please contact your representative? People were telling us they would call and they actually would lead with, "Is this about the chicken thing?" when they picked up the phone.
Not even hello. Once again, Jeff, Zach, and Pete head to Indianapolis to testify.
This time they were arrested and put in prison for COVID violations. Okay, hopefully that's not the end. Hopefully this ends happily. But I haven't watched the entire thing, so I will be as surprised as you, depending on how it goes.
The opposing side was not only represented by state regulators, but also by large agricultural lobbying interests, including the Indiana Farm Bureau, the Indiana State Poultry Association, the Indiana Pork Producers Association.
It's all about eliminating competition.
However, in this case,
the social media campaign continued to create enormous public pressure. So local politicians took a closer look without the influence of the agricultural lobbyists.
What can we do to make this better?
All right. I want to make a comment, partly so that hopefully YouTube will understand that this is fair use and I'm trying to comment on this video, not steal the whole thing, so they won't hopefully block me. But secondly of all, I have another point to make. Is it possible that things like this is why it was decided that we had to regulate all the social media? I mean, if all the small farmers and all the small businesses were using social media to get the populace riled up, isn't that dangerous? Isn't that misinformation, disinformation? Don't we all know that small farmers processing chickens is surely less healthy, more likely to have problems than a big farm processing chickens? I wonder what you think about that. All right, let's finish this up.
Remarkably, a revised bill was drafted to everyone's satisfaction. Restaurants, like Pete Eshelman's, can continue to serve locally sourced poultry, and neighbors have a choice in the food that they eat.
a rare happy ending. One small victory amidst America's growing welfare for the rich. You can watch the full documentary at Free to Choose Network.
All right, and remember, Stossel, like myself, is actually a big fan of classical market-driven capitalism. That is not the market. That is not your dollars deciding what business profits. That is government. That is big corporate bullies deciding who wins. So you would think that it would be the socialists and the communists who were most up in arms about such things. You would think that it would be the communist and the socialist who most wanted to be on the side of the small farmer. But when you study history, you find that that is not the case. Often the small farmer is frankly eradicated and eliminated and shipped off to gulags under communist regimes. One of the survivors of communist Russia made her way to the United States and got a degree out here is Ayn Rand. Now, don't even get me wrong. I have issues with Ayn Rand. There are definitely things that I disagree with her about, but I'm about to share a principle of hers with which I 100% agree. I learned about this from her, ironically, fictional novel, Atlas Shrugged. I thought I would hate this novel. Her atheism, the reputation that she had for being cold and clipped made me think that the book would probably suck. And I'm sure some people would hate it. I loved it. I totally loved it. Didn't agree with everything it said, but I loved it. This was one of the principles in it that, while I don't have empirical proof, intuitively I believe that there's something to this. It's a principle of hers she calls the aristocracy of pull. At first glance, a lot of the social problems and resource waste emerging from government intervention seem pretty easy to fix. The government should just stop doing whatever it is doing that is creating the problems and the waste. The stubborn persistence of institutions and organizations that keep societies poor is a vexing problem for social scientists. In Political Capitalism, the economist Randall Holcomb takes on this problem by analyzing political capitalism as a distinct economic system with its own logic and features, rather than as some kind of midpoint between capitalism and socialism. As he points out, he may not explain what the economics of pull is. It's basically when it is not the quality of your product or service that influences whether your business is successful. It is who you know. Now, let's be realistic. Even in a true capitalist society, there will always be some of that. It really can't be helped. But when it is almost solely who you know, not the quality of your product or service, you no longer have capitalism. The definitions just aren't there, because it's not the product or the service that you're being rewarded for. You're being rewarded for who you know or who you bribed, and that is not capitalism. Let's see what else he has to say. I'm hoping he does say a little bit more to the point. People do not generally demand big government in general. Rather, they demand intervention to solve specific problems, like Robert Reich was saying. When people believe using government is either cheaper or more than just relying on the market, the reader might be reminded of Milton Friedman's observation, and I thought about sharing one of his videos, but decided maybe that would be too heavy-handed, that every business person believes in unregulated, free competition in every industry but their own, which of course must be protected and subsidized as a matter of national security or something like that. Somebody shared something. Let me see what they shared. Oh, sound's cutting in and out. Dadgummit. Okay, I am so sorry about that. I don't know why it's doing that. If you surf the web a bit, you might come across a picture of a protest sign with a slogan, "The system didn't fail, it was designed this way." Holcomb argues it is a mistake to think political capitalism. He gets the term from the historian Gabriel Kolkov, who in turn got it from Max Weber, was designed by sinister interests in a smoke-filled room. I'll skip down a little bit, and again, let me know if this is causing if the sound quality is weird. I wish I knew what was causing that. The pathologies of political capitalism emerge too frequently and regularly to be a coincidence, but they emerge too haphazardly to be a conspiracy. Holcomb works to build a theory of political capitalism on a multidisciplinary foundation. He mixes the theory of economic and political elites as it has been developed by political scientists and sociologists with good old-fashioned, methodologically individualistic public choice theory to help us understand what Ayn Rand called the aristocracy of pull. One of the striking facts about the zeitgeist is the many areas of agreement between the left and the right with respect to the characteristics of political capitalism. Using a series of quotes from David Stockman on the right and Nobel laureate Joseph Stiglitz on the left, he shows that both believe the political system is captured and dominated by political and economic elites who, to the best of their ability, run the system for themselves. If virtually everyone agrees that the system is controlled by elites for their benefit and at the expense of everyone else, why is it this way? And why don't we replace it with something better? Holcomb builds a theory of political capitalism that might remind readers of the framework Douglas North. I do not know this theory. Violence and Social Orders is the book that it comes from. They distinguish between natural states, which use the political system to regulate economic competition and create economic rents. The rents order social relations, control violence, and establish social cooperation. So we're contrasting between that and open access societies where entry and competition order social relations. This article also brings up a book, The Sun Also Rises, Surnames in the History of Social Mobility. Clark shows how even very different societies exhibit similar social mobility patterns. Social competence is the secret sauce that helps people move into or out of elite circles. While Holcomb does not discuss social competence explicitly, his analysis complements Clark's by marrying public choice theory to elite theory and explaining the bargains that explain the stability of the political and economic elite. People saying hi to each other. All right. Holcomb's theory of the elite has 3 steps. Individuals sometimes act as members of groups rather than as individuals. Number 1. Individuals sort into groups in which they have common interests. Number 2. Groups use any power at their disposal to provide institutional advantages to their group over others. This is where the liberals actually have a point. They, I think, belabor the point and make more out of it than they need to. But it is a point that essentially, if you have white skin, you tend to prefer people with white skin. If you have black skin, you tend to prefer people with black skin. Now, what they often ignore is that the solution to that is to have black and white people meet each other and interact with each other and build teams where they are mutually dependent on each other to get the task done. And that often ends up being one of the best ways to undercut that. Here's where Clark's social competence is especially relevant. Holcomb explains that there are a lot of unwritten rules in the rent-seeking society that is political capitalism. And that's what always used to bug the crap out of me. Why does it work this way for you, but it works this way for me? Lobbyists understand, for example, that if they are invited to a reception hosted by a legislator, they had better show up. What's more, they had better show up with a check. The opportunities to buy and sell influence are practically infinite, and they are often opaque. Holcomb offers the example of the Clinton Foundation. In his 2013 book, Extortion, Peter Schweitzer gives examples of the payments legislators extort from business interests. Notice that wording. In exchange for favorable legislation. So let's remember that while the corporation is evil or seems evil in our eyes, it is often the victim of extortion. We think of it one way. We think of it as, well, these people are bribing the government and therefore getting everything they want. But it is also true that when you get to a certain point in government, you can basically extort these big companies. Because let's face it, even Walmart, as big as they are, if the federal frickin' government came down on them, it would not be a fair fight. Hillary Clinton used to be on the board of said company, by the way. Look it up. In his 2015 book, Clinton Cash, he describes how foreign governments and businesses made contributions to the Clinton Foundation when Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State from 2009 to 2013, rapidly followed by State Department policies and decisions that benefited said donors. Did foreign governments and businesses receive favorable treatment from the State Department in exchange for their contributions to the Clinton Foundation? Schweitzer presents evidence that they did, but Clinton says they did not. Holcomb offers this example to illustrate the ambiguities inherent in regulation. The system, which no one designed, it just basically evolved. I mean, yeah, we had the Constitution, but the actual system of the regulations that we have currently evolved. It wasn't a brilliant scheme made up by one person. The system encourages and reinforces activities that blur the lines between respectable rent-seeking and contemptible corruption. Won't read the entire thing. I do want to skip down to this, though. This helps us understand the persistence of institutions that are unambiguously evil, like slavery, and those that are merely inefficient, like the mortgage interest deduction. As an economist, who is this guy? This is some guy. I don't know. As an economist, the author thinks we should get rid of the mortgage interest deduction. As someone who, as of this writing, is preparing to sign a 30-year mortgage, I balked just a bit at the idea because eliminating the deduction would reduce the value of our home. Even if it were offset by a reduction in tax rates, it's not clear that we'd be better off. My narrow material interest makes it hard to say, let's get rid of this special privilege that clearly benefits me. It's easier to push legislators and regulators to gore other people's oxen and leave ours alone. Herein lies the logic of political capitalism. There's not much left to be read. As Holcomb explains, the elite implement institutional changes after all, and if changes could not assure benefits to those who have the power to change them, institutional improvement is unlikely to occur. We cannot, in short, expect the elite to go to the barricades in the pursuit of policies that will make them poorer. Hence, resource wasting, gains from trade reducing policies persist in all their inefficient glory. Then what is to be done? In various places, Friedrich Hayek and Milton Friedman emphasize the importance of public opinion. Deirdre McCloskey argues that the great enrichment emerged in response to changes in how people think and talk about trucking and bartering. Holcomb seems to concur. As the ideology of democracy has replaced the ideology of liberty, that's an interesting statement. As the ideology of democracy has replaced the ideology of liberty, The force of government has encroached upon the voluntary exchange of markets. If public opinion continues this drift, political capitalism will become harder and harder to uproot. Political capitalism grows as a hardy weed in the soil of ideas that might choke out the delicate flower of liberty. However, changing the intellectual soil and moving it in the direction of support for an open access society has the potential to fight back at least some of this encroachment. People who teach principles of economics courses know the frustration. We spend a lot of time talking about how free markets work and how different government interventions like price controls and tariffs make things worse for the people their advocates claim to be trying to help. We gloss over some of the important and real complications of transition between institutions if we limit ourselves to just saying the government should stop doing that. The book Political Capitalism helps us understand why they don't, and importantly helps us plot a way forward by marrying elite theory to public choice. So this was more about, even though it was Ayn Rand's society, it was more about the book Political Capitalism, but it's the same, basically it's the same thing. It's what the aristocracy of pull is and why it's not a good thing. Blankety blank. Chat GPT is being a real pain in the blank tonight. It won't make the thumbnail I want. Yeah, I had a little bit of trouble. It generated the thumbnail that I used, but it's not exactly like what I wanted. So it's so cold out right now. I saw a politician with his hands in his own pockets. What? That's cold. Now, because I am a partisan and not perfectly fair person, I'm going to remind everyone that we had a huge example of the economics of pull in the event that happened in 2020. People told us to trust the science when what they really meant was shut the heck up and do what you're told. And it became a thing where if you knew the right people, if you were the right people, you could still go get your hair done. You could still have big parties. You know, you could do what you needed to do. But if you did not know the right people, or you were not the right people, you were denied access to the funeral of your loved one, or you were not allowed to go to church. You were forced to be ran through stores like you were cattle, not human beings. Curtis, you're exaggerating. No, I remember it. I was blessed to be in Oklahoma where it wasn't so bad, but every time I'd walk into a store and there'd be arrows on the floor telling me where to go, I couldn't help but think, I am a grown-ass man. I am a citizen of the United States. Unless you have a freaking document declaring me incompetent, I don't care if you're the president of the United States. You have no right to tell me where to walk. Unless I'm endangering someone, which there's the argument. But you are, Curtis. You're spreading the pandemic. Prove it. Well, we just said so. We said so. I'm going to share a little bit of the remarks of, oh, you may have to help me out, John. I'm having a senior moment. John Campbell. Largely, he's a doctor. He's a big expert on health and diet, I believe. If I remember right. Guerrilla Censored Thought. My governor sent state troopers 25 miles past the state border to arrest a woman selling items from her store in Minnesota on Facebook. God bless America, the land of the free, home of the brave.
MOFA, make all fiction again.
I just love that. Make Orwell fiction again.
That's what we'd like to do, because unfortunately we see some of his what I would describe as prophecies coming true, and they have to be seen as a warning.
One of those prophecies, one of the most famous phrases, and Orwell created so many neologisms and ideas that into our discourse and images, and as you say, prophecies. It's something I've discussed a few times now. The famous, if you want an image of humanity's future, envisage a boot stamping on a human face forever. Lately, I've started to.
That book, I read it when I was 12, or maybe I was 13. Anyway, I was either 12 or 13 when I read it. It's always haunted me because that was exactly what Martin, who was the inner party member who was in charge of torturing and basically convincing Winston Smith to love Big Brother. And those were his words. If you want an image of the future of mankind, imagine a boot endlessly grinding into the face of humanity.
Contrast that with the idea of man made in God's image. And when you are stamping on a human face, you are stamping on the hallmark of God's presence in us. I had a good conversation with Tucker Carlson in which he said that Orwell was familiar enough with Soviet communism to make clear that that was what he was talking about, if it was his intention to critique that. And Tucker offered the idea that Orwell could have been offering us in those sort of dystopic prophetic books the idea that social democracy has a tendency towards totalitarianism. Although the reason I asked whether or not Orwell was an atheist at the beginning was it seems that part of globalism is an attempt to annihilate God and then lay claim to the abilities that God is typically endowed with, even if you're offering a sort of rational appraisal of God.
He's rambling a little bit, but basically the long and the short of it is we want to replace God with the state. It's similar to what I said in the Disney 10 Commandments, but instead, instead of thou shalt honor the Bob thy Iger, it's thou shalt honor, and it depends. I'm sure that if you're left wing, you're going to say thou shalt honor the Donald thy Trump, and if you're right wing, you're going to say thou shalt honor the Joe thy Biden. But at the end of the day, state wants to be God, and it always has. Kings used to be honored like they were gods. Originally, Christians were crucified not so much because they worshiped differently, it's because they refused to worship Caesar. And if you don't worship Caesar, then you are anti-Roman society and you need to be destroyed. And hail to thee, Jeff B. Howdy, howdy. I hope you are doing well, and I hope you find at least a little bit of entertainment and or enlightenment in this. I'm going to skip ahead to the answer that John Campbell gives, even though Russell Brand makes some good points as well, but he takes a little bit of rambling time to get about it. So let's get to what just Campbell says about it.
Consider that to be a sort of an image of desacralization and the profaning of our relationship with God. That's my question.
Yeah, I think there's a few answers to that. Whenever you want to deliberately destroy humans and to mutilate humans, that is a problem related to evil, because humans are made in God's image. So I worked in Khmer refugee camps in the early 80s, and all the people there had been through the killing fields. They'd all seen relatives beaten to death in front of them. By definition, they hadn't escaped. They'd come overland into the Thai-Khmer border. And some of the atrocities, I'm not going to go through them now, they're too appalling, but I've talked to missionaries who worked there, and read missionaries who worked there, who knew the Cambodians in great detail. And some of these atrocities, these mutilations, they said can only be explained in terms of the demonic. So whenever you deliberately destroy humans, that is attempting to destroy the image of God in humans, whether that is crushing people physically disabling them, physically killing them, physically mutilating them, whether it's abuse of people even after death, whether it's a psychological crushing. To me, that's got a spiritual component, because you are attacking God's workmanship. In terms of Orwell, of course, he was initially writing because of his grave disillusion with the way that things had worked out in the Soviet era. Stalin, of course, was the pig, the leader of the pigs.
Oh, Stalin, you came and you made our life shitty. I would send you away, oh, Stalin. But you put me in the gulag and it's a pity. All righty. I know that wasn't a really great comment, but I want to be a little bit careful here, but I think some of you who have worked for certain organizations, I wish Sashi was still here. I think you know how brutally soul crushing it can be to work in certain environments under certain forced impositions of a brutal compliance. I think that the screw tape letters next to 1984 is about the most appropriate thing that you can read. It's like the corporate stanza isn't even so much about let's make profits as why should the worker or why should the customer be happy? In fact, the real art of the thing is to provide less and less satisfaction with greater and greater amounts of sin or payment or whatever. I can't help but sometimes think that 1984 and the screw tape letters are considered how-to manuals by some of these people, not as cautionary tales. Jeff B., yeah, my mic is fine. Yeah, there's something going on. I don't know if it's my computer. I don't know if it's YouTube. I just don't know what to do about it. If any of you guys have any technical advice, I'm open to it. Let's see. I think I'll share just a little bit more, and then I'm going to share what I've got on Twitter and call it a stream.
You know, that's very thinly disguised. But I think it's more than that. Yes, he was disillusioned, outraged, just totally peed off with the fact that he'd been misled in earlier life, believing that this was a possible utopian solution. You know, you'd had various theses, antithesis, and synthesis, and communism was this advanced synthesis that was somehow where humans went to be, and he was so disillusioned with that, so disillusioned with their humanist ideas, that he wrote his books to protest against that and to point out how bad it was. But I think it's more than that. I think he realized that this was a tendency, you might say a weakness, predisposition in human hierarchical power, that power is inevitably going to be abused. I think he was warning about something. Yes, he was having a whinge, if you like, about the Soviet era, but he realized that this is an intrinsic risk in humanity, and hey, people, look out for this.
Well, hopefully the hearing problems didn't Clear your cache and limit how much you have open. Oh, well, yeah, that sounds like a capital idea. I don't know why I didn't think of that about that. Well, that's awesome, but that's not what I wanted to do. Clear. Where are you tonight? Why did you leave me here all alone? All right, hopefully that helps. Let me know if that helps. Thank you for the thought, Gorillas. Sensor thoughts. Seems like he was in double speed with gaps in between. Weird. Don't know what's going on. All right. Now it is time. Hopefully you can hear it, or at least hear it without like horrible, nasty sounds. For Curtis's pointless things he found on Twitter, some of which is partisan and some of which is not. Because I am a big poo-poo head, yeah, here's a message from John. He's sharing how it sounds to you guys. I'm embarrassed. I'm sorry. But Elon Musk shared, truth does not mind being questioned. A lie does not like being challenged. When's the last time I restarted my computer? About 2 days ago, something like that. Jeff B. Many streamers need a 13-year-old tech geek on call. Right on. I know I definitely need tech support with me. Elon Musk. The perfect question. Why are some people more outraged by Elon Musk commenting on the state of the United Kingdom than they are by the mass specific kind of terrible abuse of 250,000 British children? I still need to do more research into that, but I'm terrified that there may be something to that. Elon Musk shares Kevin Sorbo. People don't trust the government because a billionaire child trafficking ring was exposed, and we still don't have the names of those who participated. Another one. You mean your own government is running psychological operations on us with a counterintelligence program funded by the money they extort from you every time you touch money? Right on. The law. Ignorance of the law is no excuse. Also, the law. How could anyone know all of that? Speaking of tech support, where the heck is LDG? I don't know. Snortapoopus Q Burr shared this one, born 133 years ago. J.R.R. Tolkien, rest in peace. Not all those who wander are lost. Milton Friedman. Most economic fallacies derive from the tendency to assume that there is a fixed pie. The one party can gain only at the expense of others. I don't know. There's a little raccoon drinking from that cup. It's just so cute. Brett Weinstein. These attacks are connected to each other through Fort Bragg, and I know I haven't really talked about them. I don't know enough about them to give you much more than you already know. But obviously, my heart goes out to the victims and the families of the victims, and we pray for them. But the attacks are connected to each other through Fort Bragg and to the New Jersey drones, which are connected. This is kind of weird, but I'm going to share it anyway. To gravity manipulation, which connects it all to the UAPs for the alien inclined. And it's all happening between the election and inauguration. It's clearly designed to be irresistible to conspiracy theorists. And oh, you guys don't know how much I've had to resist looking into it. The smart money is on the deep state and its partners preparing to vacate their offices and switch modes. They want us chasing our tails. We are obliging them. We should instead be figuring out what they're trying to distract us from with all this conspiracy catnip. Gorilla Censored Thoughts. The government would never run psychological experiments on us. Just don't mention my MK Ultra, the LSD experiments in France, the Tuskegee experiments. Don't forget the LSD that they literally gave to Charles Manson so he could sell and or give it away to start his cult. LBG took the IRT down to 4th Street, USA. When he got there, what did he see? Youth of America on LSD. I don't know the tune, so I'm probably not singing it right, but it sounds about right. Wasn't Timothy McVeigh also trained from Port Bragg? Good question. I'm going to look that up. If you will indulge me. Timothy McVeigh. Military record. I guess I'll take the cheap, easy way out and use Wikipedia. All right. In May of 1988, McVeigh enlisted in the United States Army, attended basic training, and advanced individual training at the U.S. Army Infantry School at Fort Benning, Georgia. While in the military, McVeigh used much of his spare time to read about firearms, sniper tactics, and explosives. He was reprimanded by the military for purchasing a White Power t-shirt. His co-conspirator Terry Nichols was his platoon guide. The two were later stationed together at Fort Riley in Junction City, Kansas, where they met and became friends with their future accomplice, Michael Fortier. McVeigh was top scoring gunner with the M2 42 25mm cannon. I'm revealing that I know squat about guns. Of the Bradley fighting vehicles used by the 1st Infantry Division, was promoted to sergeant. After being promoted, McVeigh earned a reputation for assigning undesirable work to black servicemen and using derogatory language. He was stationed at Fort Riley before being deployed on Operation Desert Storm. In an interview before his execution, McVeigh said that he hit an Iraqi tank more than 500 yards away on his first day in the war, and then the Iraqis surrendered. He also decapitated an Iraqi soldier with cannon fire from 1,100 yards away. He said he was later shocked to see the carnage on the road while leaving Kuwait City after U.S. troops routed the Iraqi army. McVeigh received several service awards, including the Bronze Star Medal, National Defense Service Medal, Southwest Asia Service Medal, Army Service Ribbon, and the Kuwaiti Liberation Medal. McVeigh aspired to join the Special Forces. After returning from the Gulf War, he entered the selection program but withdrew on the second day of the assessment, telling other recruits that he had injured an ankle. However, in a letter to his superiors, McVeigh wrote that he was not physically ready. McVeigh decided to leave the Army and was honorably discharged in 1991. So, at least according to Wikipedia, that's what he did. What else have we got? When you blow your dog a kiss and he watches it float by. This was from Penny. It's just beautiful. I love dogs. LDG, free the net, who we're wondering where he is. Here's your daily dose of free speech for today, only on the Trans X platform. It's just Twitter so far. If an Indian picks up, it's a scam. Unfortunately, it's true enough to have become common sense today here in the great USA. We're sorry. We don't mean it how it sounds, but we can't take any chances in today's days. What's in an accent? Apparently enough to unfairly label millions of people. But maybe there is something we can do, something able to change tomorrow's days. So what if people couldn't scam anymore? How would that system look? No company would want to build that. No government would want that even built. Don't worry. He's got us. It's going to be one wild ride, a net that gives away true power and control to the users and lets them own themselves, be accountable to themselves, and finally allow them to mind their own business instead of everyone else doing it for them. Imagine a decentralized internet where unwanted scams are impossible, thanks to a system that exposes liars, cheats, thieves, fakers, and capitalists. And judgments based on the sound of a culture's voice lose their wind entirely. Is it possible? Short answer, yes, very much so. Would it be overly complicated? Short answer, no. The internet is already made to be this way. We just let them get too big. And no one till now had the balls to do the right thing. So put your support behind LDG Free the Net as best you can. Okay, there's more people talking out of their butts. Lord help us. Darn it. Hopefully this isn't embarrassing. Go back to the bookmarks. Okay. How far do I want to go down? I think I will go down, go down, go down. Go down, 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 down. Down, 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 down. All right. Deleted scenes shared this one. A guy who was photographed with the attempted Trump assassin just received the Presidential Medal of Freedom from Biden. Imagine that. Breaking Hillary Clinton revealed her true color form after receiving the Medal of Freedom. Obviously, that's a fake, but yeah, I'm sorry. That's funny as crap. Joe Biden presenting George Soros with the Presidential Medal of Freedom. And I've got to say, even though I have become a pro Elon Musk person, I do respect people who are not keen on him because I've been there. But I do have this to say. Please, 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 for the love of God, understand that if you're concerned about Musk, you have to be concerned about Soros or you're intellectually bankrupt. And honestly, to be fair, it's probably true the other way at the risk of bankrupting myself. Musk has largely won me over, but I also admit that I wonder. I do wonder. Because it seems like a lot of these billionaires don't really have our best interests at heart. Here's a meme. And here I just turn around and share his tweet. Charge people for a certain kind of terrible abuse and violent crime. No, we're not going to do that. Charge people for social media posts and memes. Can you not hear me? Testing, testing. Testing, testing. Can you hear me? Testing, testing. Hello. 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 I don't know if you can hear me. This is actually one that I do agree with. Michael J. Fox. I actually agree with him getting the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Also this one, Skeletor. I don't think many people. Thank you, John Ponterero. I don't think many people deserve the Presidential Medal of Freedom more than Skeletor. Republicans, can we at least deport all of the people performing certain horrible abuse and pedophiles? 158 Democrats said no. Mrs. Dadman walking, Happy New Year! I just love that. I love this one too from Snortopoopas Cuber. Today is Take Your Kid to Work Day. Kid on the top of the plane. It's just fun. 1, 2, 3. Your mic is fine. All right, we hear you. I was referencing my banjo sound. Da da dang 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 da da dang 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 dang. Penny, Grok made me into a Simpsons character. Grok does good work. Rob Schneider, to the London police who want to arrest people for mean tweets. Not over here, you limey bastards. This limited edition free speech protection device is now available at Nemo Arms and at Scottsdale TAC. I'm sure YouTube will be mad that I shared that. Elon Musk's crime. New York City police are conducting a manhunt for Jamar Banks for stabbing multiple subway passengers. He's been arrested 87 times, having shot pedestrians on the street, stabbed train passengers, and McDonald's customers. And you wonder why I doubt the veracity of charging Trump. Presumably, they will release Banks once again after they arrest him. There are things about Twitter that annoy me. This annoys me. All right. Elon calls for the king to dissolve parliament. Gosh, darn it. Twitter, stop it. I'm trying to share your stuff. Why won't you cooperate? Elon is demanding accountability, urging King Charles to dissolve Parliament after the United Kingdom government rejected a full inquiry into grooming. Oh, now it's going to work. Elon is demanding accountability into grooming gangs. He called the scandal state-sponsored evil and accused Keir Starmer of failing victims during his time as CPS chief. With one post, Elon's done more for justice than certain United Kingdom leaders have in years. The source is the Hindustan Times. All right. Cats doing adorable things. I hope you can see it, even if you can't hear it. Kitty. Aw, look at the kitty. Aw. Sometimes I think about getting a cat, but I know it would not end well, at least for me. Might end okay for the cat. I think Cassie does pretty well. This was funny.
Thanks.
All right, I'm gonna. John, you shared this one. I thought about sharing it, but I haven't listened to it yet, so I need to listen to it. But Trump Border Czar, CBS host. I bet it's cool, but I haven't had a chance to listen to it. So, Snortopoopas Cuber, I have nothing to say this morning. Carry on. More cute cats doing adorable things. Damage zero. Breaking news, Justin Trudeau has officially resigned as Prime Minister of Canada. Don't know how many of you are celebrating like I am, but I will probably break open a bottle of something tonight to celebrate. Oh, thank you. Yes, thank you so much. On that note, I won't get distracted for too long. We're almost done with the stream. YouTube, meet the YouTube. It's a modern Stone Age family. From the town of Bedrock, it's a page right out of history. How many watch hours do I need? It's slow, but we're creeping up there. We're creeping up there, and it's all thanks to you guys, because I doubt if I'd get more than a handful myself. 713 hours. So, yeah, if any of you are just bored tonight, maybe watch an hour or so. Maybe we can get me up to less than 700 hours. That would be great. And who knows what kind of lunacy I may do when I monetize. The chief nerd. New Jersey Democrat Governor Phil Murphy passed Act 1669 as part of the state's 2025 budget in June to address the teacher shortage. Now, I don't want to be too unfair. I have great friends who are teachers. So I know what they're thinking, and it's true. If it's this bad, it's because teaching is in a bad state. But evidently, if you're seeking an instructional certificate in New Jersey, you do not have to pass basic skills tests for reading, writing, and math. A massive snowball fight just broke out near the Capitol ahead of Trump's election certification. I think that's awesome, but I'm got to concur with Troy Pacelli. I'm surprised that there's not claims of insurrection. Look at the violence. This is for you, Tim, if you're still here. There are some who call me Tim. I want AI to do my laundry and dishes so that I can do art and writing, not for AI to do my art and writing so that I can do my laundry and dishes. Christopher Lloyd is back on Twitter, and I am sorry. I just love the guy. It's hard being this handsome. I can just hear it in my head. Oh, Lord, it's hard to be humble when you're perfect in every way. A twofer. If you go piss on the IRS building, it should get you there, right? Insurrection. It's hard being this handsome. Christopher Lloyd. I love that guy. I don't know if this is real. I'm almost suspecting that this is a fake, but I don't even know what to make of this. Part of me thinks it's funny, and part of me thinks it's tragic. I think that's Pelosi. I don't know. And the last thing I have, Dr. Phil here, my new network, Merrick TV, is disrupting the tired legacy news model. We want you on our channel. Send us news, pictures, videos, and clips of tired blogging from your corner of the world and become part of our citizen journalism movement. Be the news. A snowball fight between the Capitol Police and the FBI. Probably between FBI and CIA. Well, that's it. That's all I've got, at least that I want to take the time to share tonight. I'm getting a little tired, and tomorrow's going to be a tough day, but I bless all of you for being here. It is time to wrap. Yeah, it helps if you push the right button. Gorilla Sensor thought she fell and broke her hip like 2 weeks ago. Yeah, absolutely. Please go ahead. Yeah, I pushed the wrong button. Sorry, guys. Stay safe, stay warm, take care. Yeah, I was meaning to shut off the share screen. Instead, I clicked out of the thing altogether. Shows how tired I am. Let's get the soft prone music going. Thank everybody. And just shorten it to Spoon. Thank you very much, Sashi, man from the future. Yard stream, yeah. Whenever you restart it, deletes comments, so I may miss some of you guys. Sorry. Gorilla Sensor Thoughts, thank you very much for your advice and for your kind comments. I'm glad you found money, and I will try to keep an eye out for your stream. Hopefully I can stay up at least another hour or so. Hail Connie Cleary, thank you for your kindness and for your contributions to the chat and to the internet. Jaguar is evil. Please check out Sci-Fi Mommy's channel. And I got to get more of these for Gorillas, Connie, several other people. I'm slowly figuring out stream elements. I'm going to try to figure out how to get payment. So if some of you guys are silly enough to want to send me a buck or two, doobie-doobie-doobie-doo. Scooby Big Al Presents. Thank you very much for showing up and for the kind comments. I hope that you found some of it vaguely entertaining, mildly informative. That may be my slogan. Jeff B., welcome. Thank you for your kind comments. And it is true, I need some tech support. Doobie-doobie-doobie-doo. Hey, evening, LDG Free the Net. Welcome. Y'all check this gentleman's channel out. And if you got any recommendations for why my audio keeps messing up, I'll stick around for a few minutes to learn what I've done wrong, or maybe I'll just send you a link and we can go backstage or something. Doobie-doo-boo, doobie-doobie-doobie-doo, doobie-doo, Scooby-Doo. I do hope that you like the show, LDG and Lady Mist. I hope I didn't miss you earlier. Maybe you were just lurking because you were worried that I'd say something crappy, and maybe I did. I hope not, or too crappy. You are loved and always welcome here. Hey, yes, sir. I will add you on stage as soon as I'm done with the stream, and I will be done with the stream directly. It has been said that life has painted anyone trying to tell you otherwise is trying to sell you something. I, in fact, am trying to sell you something. Trying to sell you on the idea that liberty is better than slavery, that freedom is better than tyranny. Lastly of all, I would like you to know that you're not going mad. You're going sane in a world gone mad. God bless you guys. Have a wonderful evening. Oh, one last thing. Before I know I got to look at it before I close because it disappears if I don't. Sorry, LDG, I'm trying to hurry. The poll. You guys want me to talk about the fall of the mainstream media. So let it be written, so let it be done. I will give a talk about that because that's one of my favorite topics anyway. I understand, Lady Mist. Hey, I hope it was at least mildly informative, and I hope some of it was entertaining. So, okay, Gorillas is about to go on live. I'm going to talk to LDG real quick, and then I'll go over there, at least in the chat. So take care, sir.